Hi, team. Thanks for joining me today. First of all, if you are unfamiliar with Oracle decks, listen to episode 105. It gives a quick overview that will help you understand more about what they are. It will help a lot if you're unfamiliar before you listen to this episode. So, I'm going to be talking about my journey to co creating, because it's always a co creation, but co creating this Oracle and guidebook. So let's go back. The journey started way back in January of 2025, and I would argue that it started way back in 2019 or before. I'm actually totally not sure. Maybe or likely my soul knew this would be the route that I would take all along. I just had to get here eventually. So, sometime early last year, I was listening to a podcast. It's called Reiki Radio with Yolanda, and she was talking about Oracle decks and how great they are and how challenging they are to actually create. Like, really hard is what she was talking about. And so my thought at the time was, there's no way I would ever create my own, even though it was intriguing. I just thought, and most likely I thought this due to imposter syndrome or whatever, that Oracle decks are created by those way more spiritual, way more intuitive, way more fill in the blank than me. At least that's the story that I told myself. But apparently, the divine, the universe, my team of light, my highest self had other plans. And so began the little nudges that, and sometimes very big nudges or shoves that came for me to co create an Oracle deck and guidebook. After that podcast, I want to say maybe in March of 2025, I was on a walk talking with my sister in law, Brenna, and I threw out to her the idea of how cool it would be if she did the art for an Oracle deck someday. Not at all thinking it would be for the one that I would eventually be inspired to create. I just thought she's a great artist. It'd be really cool for her to create art for an Oracle deck. And I just said, "You do great at it. Have you ever considered that?" And then it was just that. And we continued our conversation and didn't come back to that at all. Okay. And then over the next few months, I received little hits of information about creating an oracle deck and guidebook related to the body and to the mind and to the soul. And I just let that information be there. Nothing really came of it. And I didn't think anything of it. And I still didn't accept the idea fully that I was going to be a co creator of a guidebook. And then one day I was on a run on a trail, and this is where pretty much all of my ideas come through. And this particular idea dropped in immediately, and it was what has now become the name of this oracle and guidebook, The Body's Language, Wisdom from the Soul. It felt like it came out of nowhere, but of course it came from somewhere. It felt strange to have such a clear title that I swear I looked around. I remember where I was on the trail, and I looked around and was like, who did that? Where did that come from? It was so clear. I didn't have an I didn't hear a voice. I just had a knowing. I just knew. I remembered, and it felt like that this is what the guidebook should be called. And then I was like, of course. And then everything started to make sense. And it just kind of, all of the information just started kind of dumping in over the next few months. Um, it, it, um, yeah. So I just let the idea be there. And then as I continue to have trail time, which is basically where this entire creation came through, I was able to hear and know the different chapters or cards for the deck. And I knew what I would call the different cards and what the theme would be running throughout. And all of this ultimately became the Oracle and guidebook that exists in the 3D right now. Um, which is, it's so weird. It's such a weird, this has been such a beautiful, wonderful, strange, expansive experience that sometimes I just think, how on earth did I get here? Anyway, fast forward to I think it was August of 2025, and I was having another conversation with Brenna. We would catch up now and then, just chatting. And but this time I was asking her to create the art for this Oracle deck that I had said yes to creating. And really, I'm curious how she remembers it, but I remember it as without a pause, Brenna said yes, which I'm so grateful because I knew from the very beginning it had to be her who did the art. That's the vision that I had. So I was prepared to wait if I needed for her to say yes. I wasn't going to force it. I was going to wait for her to come to it on her own. But thankfully, it came right away. So thank you, Brenna, for saying yes. So grateful. I mean, those of you who have the deck and guidebook, or especially the deck and the cover, that's all Brenna. So around late August to September of 2025, we began the process of co-creating and listening and being inspired. Every hike that I went on came with more information for me to write down. And interestingly enough, from the beginning, I had this idea that I would self-publish. And yet I still spent hours and hours worth of effort and material and time to send submission proposals to about 8 to 10 different publishers now. And I believe 6 or 7 of them, maybe 8 of them, I lost count, sent back rejection emails. And I do believe that was part of my learning in this and trusting that those rejections were not rejecting me. I never actually felt that. I was able to come to a place where I knew they weren't aligned with this creation yet, maybe. And for me, that's a big win because instead of taking the rejection personally, I realized that it was part of divine orchestration because the process of sending in all of the information to the publishers really required me to fine tune and to get clear on the concept of what I was co-creating and to stay true to what I knew from the beginning, which is that I was going to create a 33 card deck, no more, no less. Just because, here's the thing, this is how I tend to roll. Just because most, if not all decks are about 40 plus cards, didn't mean that mine needed to be that way. And I didn't want to do something just because that's what everybody else is doing. And I didn't want to stretch the cards just to fill them, to get them to 40 or 44 or 50 or 55. That didn't make sense to me. I was like, this is the number. That's what came through. That's what I got. And then all of the cards just came through and it was 33. And I even tried going beyond it. And I'm like, this isn't right. This doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel right. And so I landed on 33. And yeah, so I'm really grateful for that ownership of that decision and that I was able to get to that. And it felt very empowering. This whole journey has felt very empowering. The very first rejection, honestly, I felt sadness and I had a little cry because I'm in this human school and it didn't feel good. Rejection doesn't feel good. And I had to get really real with myself and understand that I had attached more than I thought to an expectation or a hope. And when I luckily came quickly to that realization, I was able to release every publisher rejection to just be part of my learning and growing and expansion, because that's how I was able to collaborate with beautiful humans who believed in this with me. And what a beautiful gift it has been. I'm telling you. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for those who said no and maybe will say yes at some point, but I don't know. Because I was able to say yes to myself and to go forward without being attached to anyone else's rules or expectations. And I'm still open to a publishing company, and I realize that I don't need it. Okay, so Brenna and I in August or September, we were going back and forth with ideas. And I wanted for the art that she created to feel inspired and without pressure and without like rigid guidelines. I just kind of threw out my vision and then said, okay, go with what comes up for you. And I didn't want it to feel stress. I wanted it to feel, I wanted and intended for the energy of this deck and guidebook to be full of joy, high vibration, full of excitement. And if it ever deviated from that, I wanted to pause and readjust and then move forward in a different energy, because that's the energy with which I wanted this deck and guidebook going into the world. That was very important to me. So I told Brenna the idea that was inspired through me, and she created the beautiful cards and the beautiful cover and back design. And like, it's amazing. It's exactly what it needed to be. And the writing was inspired from the divine, my team of light, my years of experience, and all the things I've learned since birth. Feels like that. And so it feels like a combination of so many amazing things and some hard things and really important lessons about releasing perfectionism and releasing attachment and really practicing surrender and trusting that I'm moving in alignment and that I have a big old team showing me the way. I had to take the steps myself and create the way, but I had a lot of amazing, I said that a lot, amazing. Well, anyway, synonym for amazing guidance. So shout out to all who guided me. The art that I was inspired to ask Brenna to co-create, when you look at the cover and then when you look all through the deck, the art has to do with our connection with the earth and with each other, and more specifically with trees. So every card has an element of a tree and an element of our bodies or systems within our bodies, because it's all connected and we are all connected. Everything is connected. And so joining it all felt like the most appropriate way for me to honor all of those connections. And if you look at the cards, well, and Brenna put it into the art that you see. So like that is her honoring of all of that as well. It was so cool. It was such a cool practice, kind of going back and forth with this. But if you look at the cards, you'll see at the top of each card, it looks like a tree ring or a ripple in water. And each tree ring or ripple has colors in it. And that was everything about the art is very intentional. The tree rings are all about growth and expansion and connect us with the earth. And it is also like a ripple in the water, because our healing ripples out to the collective. I do believe that all healing is mutual. And so the ripple is how your growth and expansion goes out to all. And colors throughout the deck are connected with our main chakras. So root, sacral, solar, heart, throat, third eye, brow, and crown. Those are the ones that I mainly focused on, also referred to as energy center. Of each card connects with an area of the tree and a system or area of the body, and the words are connected with both. And at the bottom, there's a little fingerprint. If you look closely, you'll see that it looks like a fingerprint. And that was Brenna's idea. The fingerprint, everything related to the art all came from Brenna. But all of us, the fingerprint idea is that all of us are unique and exceptional, like fingerprints. And the color on each fingerprint represents where on the body and where on the body the energy centers are, and connected with that particular energy center color. And the little squirt painting, which is so stinking cute, is like the beginning of a tree, the little sprout, which allows for expansion by nurturing and nourishing the soil. And soil, soul. I wonder if those words are so similar for a reason. Now I'm curious. I'll look at that later. And if you look at the cover of the box and at the book cover, you'll see that it looks like a tree filled in with the colors of the chakras, and that there is a body within the tree. There's no gender to it. I wanted to be very free from all of that. It's just the interconnection of the body with the earth and trees. And if you look at the base of the tree, where the roots would be, you can see the wide roots going out, extending, connecting, grounding. And at the very bottom is water. Water is life. And so everything was very intentional in this artistic creation. And one of my main intentions with the creation of the guidebook was to make the process of healing, growth, and expansion accessible. I was inspired to create it so that people new to connecting with their bodies, minds, souls, and spirits would be able to do so in a way that didn't feel intimidating, because that sucks. And I was also inspired to create it so that people who have been doing this a long time can go even deeper in their practice. The image that came to mind and that I kept intentionally coming back to was the image of a hawk or an eagle, taking the perspective from up high, seeing and offering in a way that can be accessed by any person who is in a place in their journey where they're ready to lean in to their healing. And that's not everybody in this lifetime. This isn't this is for everybody who is in a place to lean into their healing, but not everybody is in that place. So that's the clarification. And I did not deceive myself. There you go. This is it. I didn't deceive myself into thinking that this is for every single person on the planet right now. That wouldn't make sense. My audience is likely a smaller audience. If someone is in survival mode, creating time for something like this likely doesn't make sense for them yet. Or this may not be part of your journey at all. And that's okay too. I recognize that. It all belongs. So for those who are ready, or you just want to dip your toe in, or if you want to go all the way in towards your healing and expansion, this is for you. Each chapter, each card and meaning has an introduction to the area of the body and how it connects with the correlated chakra or chakras, as sometimes there is more than one chakra connected with an area of the body. And then I take you through questions to ask yourself, and then a noticing and a practice to connect with your body so that you can, practice you can go through to connect with your body, and then a remembering. Because ultimately everything that was inspired in this guide is leading you to remembering what you already know somewhere within. It's already there. This is a guide and hopefully a very empowering one. It's not perfect. And that was part of my practice too, to not over edit and to not, I had to stoof. Oh, right. Ready and send. I have to let it go and let it be what it is. Even if there will come a time where I'm like, oh, I wish I would have blank. It needed to get out there and I needed to get out of my own way. So that is what I did. My practice was to co-create and then to release it into the world to those for whom it's meant to connect. So that feels really cool. Okay, back to the timeline. What is that anyway? What is that? Another podcast. So from September to probably the end of October or through November, maybe even December. It's all kind of a blurish, which maybe that's what time is. Anyway, Brenna and I were going back and forth on the art. I didn't really have much to say related to the art because I did trust that what came through for her was what the deck was going to be. So that was easy for me to relinquish. Honestly, I was like, do your thing, girl. The harder part was my own writing, which was inspired and also from me. It was a co-creation. It's both and. So my experience, my learning, people I've encountered. Oh my gosh, there's so much that went into this. Like I've read so many books, listened to so many podcasts, engaged with so many people, done my own practice. There's so much involved in this co-creation. So even without it fully done, I started sending submissions to publishing companies just to see if there was anyone who wanted to adopt this and publish it. But truly, when I first checked in, like I said at the beginning, I waited about 3 weeks to actually jump, and I just had a knowing that I would self-publish. I just let it be there. But I'm also really glad that Brenna and Luke in particular nudged me to reach out to publishers because, like I said earlier, it helped me solidify exactly what we were putting into the world. And I'm so grateful. It took a lot of time. Oh my gosh, it took a lot of time. And it was challenging, but it was not a burden. It was time and effort. And I knew it was meaningful. So it didn't feel like labor. And it wasn't hard in the sense of the word hard. Like I'm choosing to do this. I chose to say yes to this. So the hardest part came when I had to figure out how to do all the editing for what the book would physically look like and go through Adobe Acrobat and resizing and getting page numbers and the right size for all the images and all of the publishing type of things. Though that was hard for me. It felt very stretchy. Yeah, and that was really out of my comfort zone. And it was like, okay, Becca, here we go. You're gonna like the comfort zone is so far away from where you're gonna be. But I also felt very held and for it, honestly, because I learned so much. I figured it out, people. And I felt very empowered coming out of it because I did it. I did it. And that feels freaking good. I was able to navigate all of this by asking questions and using the tools at my disposal. And yeah, I was able to figure it out before Amita sent it to the printer. I, I love it. Go team. See team all day. And I'm really freaking proud of it because we have it now. This beautiful Oracle and guidebook in the 3D. And let me tell you, people, team collaboration. I know maybe that's saying the same thing, team and collaboration. Well, no, we could talk about that. And I have 3 different podcasts we could do. But I'm going to say team collaboration because I do think you can have a collaboration but not feel like a team. Anyway, that's the name of the game. There is no doing stuff like this by yourself. It just is not the way to do it. I would not recommend it. If you'd like to experiment with it, go for it. But I'm really grateful that my team consisted of so many badass women. So freaking amazing. I'm telling you, that felt really good. I had a lot of like strong women in particular that were like, yes, do this. You got this. They were cheering for me. I don't know. But thank you to all of you who contributed in some way to this coming into existence. A particular shout out to my friend, Amita McClain. I love you, Amita. Amita knew I was doing this. Like I had just sent out information saying I was doing this, just whatever. But then she reached out to me and she said, let's get this into people's hands. I know a printer and I'm going to get it printed for you. Who does that? Who does that? Who does that? Amita does that. That's who. I mean, that's why this exists right now. She believed in it even without seeing it. She funded the printing and yeah, we ran with it. And I'm forever grateful to her for believing in me and in this and for being the badass businesswoman, entrepreneur, and friend that she is because she was able to use her gifts to support me and Brenna in this inspired co-creation. So, Amita, I love you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Thank you's not enough, but I'll come up. I'm going to make a new word. Deep gratitude. It's more than that. Anyway, my recommendation to anyone who is considering or dreaming about writing a book or writing anything or creating anything is to do it. Lean in, try it. I never thought I would do a book like this. I think I always wanted to write something, but this was not what I had in mind. So I'm grateful that I said yes to this 100%. And I would say to all of you, go for it. You have nothing to lose. This is the time. Do it. We need as much creativity in the world in all of its forms in order to elevate the frequency of the collective. Let's get to that high vibe. And to do that, lean into your creativity, people. Please, 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 please Your ego will try to stop you. Let me just tell you that. I had lots of conversations with my ego. Your ego will give you all the reasons not to do it. Just be aware of that that's going to come, because it will come. And just let it be there. Be like, all right, ego, go sit in the soil over there, or I'm going to just add you to my candle. And then keep going. Be aware of it and then keep going. Create the path for yourself and then get out of your own way. I'm telling you. Also, none of the information in this guidebook is new. In the introduction to the guidebook, I speak about how this knowledge has been around for forever. Ancient, ancestral, indigenous wisdom has given us all of this and reminded us of all of this. This is a remembering. I just wanted something that I would love to use as a tool and a guide myself, which I use this honestly almost every day. And I figured I'm good at synthesizing a lot of information. I'm good at making it digestible, and I really like to teach. So let's do this. All the information exists out there. So many people, by so many people, and from so long ago. And I was able to be inspired to bring it all together in this particular way, which I had never seen before. So it feels exciting to be able to share this with you. And I would love to hear your experience with this Oracle and Guidebook, if and when you own it. And I'd love to hear how it resonates with you, how it supports you and guides you in your journey of remembering and healing and growth and expansion. BTW, to order the Oracle and Guidebook, you can go to my website at almanutrido.com, ALMANUTRIDO.com. And that means, by the way, nourished soul in Spanish. Yeah. And also I'm bringing Brenna, the artist of the deck, on in a week or two or so. So you can hear her perspective, as I'm sure I've left some things out, but feel free to send me questions and your experience with this deck and guidebook, and maybe I'll do a follow-up podcast. But in the meantime, I am cheering for you. You are a big deal. Keep showing up, people, and may your soul be nourished. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to rate, review, and follow the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Keep showing up, and remember, you are a big deal.